Hi everybody, I hope you've had a good week. I've had a really good week this week. It's been lots of fun actually. It was my birthday last weekend on Bank Holiday Monday, and I decided to take a leaf out of my own book and take myself off on a workshop. I really love sewing and I feel truly blessed to be able to teach sewing classes and do my ultimate hobby as a business. And actually when I'm not teaching and working in the business, I'm still more than happy to lose a few hours in the studio just sewing, just me and the machine, and I love that. But sometimes it's good to just do something completely different. So my other interests are everything to do with sort of health and well-being. So I love everything to do with nutrition, I love exercise. And over the years I've sort of dipped in and out of yoga a fair bit, and it's something that I haven't done much of recently, and I decided to take myself off on a workshop which was to learn the Wim Hof method. So if you know about Wim Hof, you probably know he's known as the Iceman. So his method involves a lot of breath work and cold exposure. So it did involve getting in an ice bath, which I did do, and it was amazing. The whole experience was fantastic. I would highly recommend it. But it made me think about workshops and the way we learn new skills, and there's lots of different ways to do it these days. You know, there's lots of information on YouTube and on online courses, and then there's the in-person experiences. And for me with this, it would have been completely different if I'd tried to do it, you know, from a YouTube channel or with an online course. What I really loved about it was that not only did I get to meet lots of like-minded people, which was really nice. It's always really nice to kind of make that connection with people that understand what you're talking about, but also just to have that time with no distraction. It was just, you didn't feel like, you know, you're going to have someone phone up in the next minute or your kids come rushing in going, can I have this, can I have that, you know, all those type of things. It was just, the space was your time, and I feel like the same about my sewing classes, to be honest. I feel like there's that time where you can carve out a few hours just to do your hobby. It's not necessarily all about cramming as much into the time as you can. It's just about having some me time, having some space, and that would involve all the things that go with it, so including meeting people in the classes and having the tuition as well as the idea sharing, and you know, it's the bigger thing. It's not just sort of one single element, and having had that experience, it's made me think I actively want to go and find a yoga class to go to again, because even though there's lots of resources online to you know, to teach me yoga, I think I'll have a better experience if I go somewhere. So that's going to be my plan, to look for a new yoga class. But the other thing that I want to talk about today is Secondhand September, which is definitely worth celebrating. So for the second half of this video, I'm going to go over to YouTube and I'm going to show you some materials that I've bought secondhand, and I'm going to talk through the plans and sort of ideas of things that I look for when I'm looking for secondhand materials. Because the other thing I think with learning a new skill, and sewing, as a sewer you'll probably already know, it can get quite expensive. So if you are, you know, spending out on tuition, you don't necessarily want to be spending out too much on fabrics as well, or it could become quite an expensive thing. So to have the option of using second-hand materials or materials that we already own can kind of make the experience a bit more, or not quite so expensive anyway. So, and there is a huge amount of things we can do with fabrics that we've already got. So I'm going to head over to the YouTube section of this video now and show you lots of different ideas. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this if you would like to share them. So I'm going to switch over to YouTube and I'll see you in a minute. So there are a lot of options when it comes to second-hand fabric. And I think particularly if you're just starting out in your sewing hobby, second-hand fabric can be a really great option, because you might have a lot of expenses already with collecting new equipment or buying a sewing machine, and you perhaps don't want the added expense of having, you know, to buy fabrics and things. So having second-hand fabrics or repurposing fabrics can be a great option price-wise. Or if, like me, you're interested in sustainability and the circular movement of clothing, and rather repurposing than just getting rid of, that can be another great way of viewing it. So one of the good places to start, I think, is your own wardrobe. And especially at this time of year when the seasons change, I tend to put away the clothing that I've been wearing over the summer months and then bring out winter clothing. And it's always a time when I can see, oh, you know, I haven't worn this or I haven't worn that, and really assess whether it's something that I am going to wear again, or is it something I could reuse and make into something that would be usable. Because it's much more fun to have things in your wardrobe that you are going to wear than just sort of sitting in the back. And you can approach this a number of ways, I think. I tend to look for, if I've got garments that have got a large amount of fabric, then I could potentially make that into a new garment. So say a dress can be sort of made into a skirt or into a top, or you could use part of the fabric and mix it with the other fabric to make a new garment. Or if the fabric is something that is what's putting you off wearing it, you know, it could become a project that's a bit more of a utility project, like a bag. And at the bottom end of the scale for me, I tend to turn things into tea towels or cleaning cloths. So there's usually something you can do, but even with that, you can still practice on your sewing machine if you're a beginner, or just make something useful if you're not a beginner. So I think starting in your wardrobe is one of the best places to start for repurposing old fabrics. So another great place to find resources is in charity shops and online on sites like Vinted and eBay, and places that sell sort of second-hand items. So what I've got here is a whole selection of things that I've collected, and I'm going to show you them and talk through where I got them from and things that I look out for. And I'm also going to talk through the project ideas I've got for each of these pieces. And I'm hoping to start working on one or two of them through September, and sharing a bit of a progress report here on these little weekly catch-ups. It won't be all of them, but hopefully a few of the items I can share how they're going. So let's get started. So I have started working on this, so I've got it folded because I don't want to reveal it this week. I'm going to share this one. Hopefully I might actually get this finished. So this was a sari, I think, and I found this in Sue Ryder in Leicester. I think it was £7. Not 100% sure what it's made of. I think it is actually a polyester blend. It's not silk, but it is quite a heavy weight. But I was really drawn to the lovely colours and the lovely pattern. Most of it was plain. It has this panel of this design at one end, but like I said, I don't think it was a full sari, because usually saris are around about 5 or 6 metres, I think, and this was more like 3. But it's really gorgeous colours. I am in the progress of making it into a dress. There are some details on it that I will show you, which are sort of folded in at the moment, but it's still at the stage where I don't actually know if it's going to work or not, so that will be one of my items. But when I go in a charity shop, one of the first places I will have a look is through their sort of bedding textile area, or blankets and things like that. So big pieces of fabric. And in Leicester we do have quite a lot of saris in charity shops as well. So, and saris are always beautiful colours and fabrics and things like that. So there's often a few of those in charity shops. So it's quite good to have a look at that section, because straight away you've got a big piece of fabric without too much, without any seams really. So it's just essentially a large piece of fabric. So this is, like I said, was a sari, and I'm turning that into a dress for sure because it's already partly made. And then this one's quite unusual. This is a flour sack, a linen flour sack, and I just fell in love with this. And this was online. I found this at Oxfam online, and the plans I've got for this are to turn it into, I'm probably thinking of using this as the back of a shirt and blending it with some other fabrics. And I've got some light blue chambray sort of denim that's a similar weight to this, that I'm thinking that I would make the rest of the shirt out of. So I haven't quite figured out yet how I'm going to work the rest of the shirt. There are some damaged parts on this, and again, I don't really mind that. I think it kind of adds a bit of character. So there are some holes here. I might be able to cut round some of them, but others I will visibly mend, more than likely. But yeah, I just loved that print, and it's a really soft, gorgeous linen. So I have washed it, and that's as clean as it comes, but again, I think it kind of adds to the character. Now this, I am currently having a bit of a phase of dressing gown-esque jackets, I think. And this is a printed wool blanket. And what I really love about this blanket is it's got this contrast, or well, tonal blanket stitch all around the edges. It's also finished with this really gorgeous kind of satin trim at one end. So I kind of want to keep the elements of that, but I will do new blanket stitch. So what I'm thinking is a very simple kind of wrap coat, which has got bound seams on the inside with the contrast colour that I then use to blanket stitch all the edges. I'm kind of envisaging cut onto the shoulders so that it's not too dressing gown-esque, and then slightly A-line with a big belt. I think it would be quite individual, but I'm still liking the idea, but I am kind of sitting with this idea. So this blanket, actually, the project came first in this case. I had this big idea to do this coat a few months ago, to be honest, and I actually actively searched for a vintage blanket with a print on it for that purpose, and this was what came up, and I just love it. So that's still my plan with this. What I feel like I need to do to start with this is to make a toile and just check that I'm happy with the shape. But the construction of this is going to be so easy, but it will be another sort of sitting down little hand stitch project. So I'm kind of thinking I would quite like to get this prepared so that I could take it to the next social that's happening on, I think it's 29th of September, because I do a lot of chatting at the social and not a lot of sewing. So if I've got something in my hand that I can just hand stitch, I can do something productive and chat. So that's my idea with the blanket. These are some items that I found last year when the trend started for the kind of tablecloth shirts and things, which I've made a few of, well, I made a couple of over the years. This one I really loved, and I actively searched for this, and I found it, I think I found it on Etsy, this, So the tablecloth has got this blue print, and then there are some pieces that come with it. So at the time, I think I was designing a blouse for Love Sewing magazine, and I thought I would use that pattern to create the blouse. It had a kind of, I think, a yoke, and then it was a bit of an A-line shape. But it is one of those that I have kind of pushed by the side. It is also something that now isn't going to be currently seasonal. So I'm not sure about this at the moment. It's got this kind of runner piece. There's plenty to work with, so it just needs working out. It will definitely be a top, but I feel like it's more summer, and as we're coming to the end of summer, I'm probably not going to be doing that right now. But it was a nice little piece. I like the colours. This one, around about the same sort of time, I found these, and now I can't honestly remember. I do have a feeling these were from a charity shop, but I can't remember exactly. And I just loved this kind of cotton crochet, and I thought this would make great cutouts, say for a sleeve, but I would need to blend it with something which is similar in colour and appropriate weight. So I need a kind of lightweight linen, I think. But I thought maybe I would use these as inserts on sleeves. So I'm still sticking with that idea. I think a kind of an interest on a white shirt is just timeless. You know, you can't go too far wrong with that. So I still like that idea, but haven't got the fabric to go with it, so I'm not sure if that will transpire just yet. And again, similar sort of time, I found this. So this has been washed and ready. Very pretty, lovely details, hand embroidered, really nice. Again, I fancy making this into a top. Again, although these are sort of on trend, I feel like they will last. They'll be just pretty summery tops. And I do like this, but again, it's not enough to make a top without blending it with some fabric. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to use that yet, so it could be something that goes on the back, and then I use these corner pieces to embellish the front or the sleeves, or I could use part of this and cut it in half and have sort of half on the front, half on the back, or use it on the sleeves. Lots of different possibilities with that. But again, at the moment I haven't worked out a plan. But and this one, I think I did get this one from either eBay or Etsy, and I can't remember the cost, to be honest. So this rather beautiful object was a little bit more expensive. I am working on a project that I'm going to sell, so it's going to be something of the new pattern basically. And this, so I can't tell you too much at the moment, but this is what I'm thinking I may use this for. So it is jacket, it will be a jacket, and this is kind of like a mandala. It's kind of got this gorgeous circular centre. I think it was described as a wall hanging, but there's absolutely a huge amount of fabric in this. And it's also got this gorgeous border around the edge, and I did slightly fall in love with this, and this was on Oxfam website. But really, really gorgeous colours, huge amount of fabric, love the added bit of sparkle, just something really different. So I'm definitely this is going to be a really simple garment actually. So I'm definitely going to play about with my pattern positioning, and I'm planning to use the circular mandala part on the back, but I shall reveal more. I'll definitely be revealing this one, especially when the pattern's finished. So that was that. And like I said, looking out for things. Sometimes the project idea comes first and then I go searching, and sometimes I'm just looking. So the other things I do when I go to charity shops is I kind of scan for fabrics and look for interesting looking fabrics. I usually try and sort of hone it in on natural fibres, cottons. one place that I often look is men's shirts, because often men's shirts have got a really great quality cotton, and I like the simplicity of men's shirt patterns. So they're often check or stripe, and they're often blue and white, and they blend really nicely with denim and things like that. So if you're looking to make a top, you can often pick up a nice extra large kind of men's cotton shirt, and then that's enough fabric to sort of make part of a garment, or sleeves, or the front or the back, or make a whole garment potentially. So there's a lot of fabric in that. So that's always something I look out for. Or if something catches my eye that I just really like the print, you know, that's another great way. And again, you can use pieces of fabric for embellishment, sometimes a shirt underneath a shirt collar, and cuffs. You know, it can be quite a subtle, it doesn't have to look too handmadey, it can look quite sophisticated really, and you've just got that added sort of designer element. So the last thing that I've got to show you today is this jacket. So this is a perfectly good woolen jacket, very, very cheap from Vinted. One of the things that I've been doing recently, actually, rather than making a sort of blazer type jacket, is to find men's jackets on Vinted, and then I take the sleeve out and reset it higher on the shoulder, so it's a bit more of a feminine cut, but it's quite straight in the body. And that's just a quick fix for getting a blazer. So I like a blazer just with jeans and a t-shirt. You know, it kind of adds a bit of a slightly smarter look to a simple outfit. But this particular one, I was thinking, I liked the jacket, and it was very, very cheap because it's damaged. I think it was £2 or £3, and this is what the lining looks like. It's quite damaged, and I don't know whether the iron's burnt that or something. I don't know if you can see, but what I'm planning to do is I'm going to take the lining out and redo the lining completely. So I'm going to put a new lining in it, but it will be a very funky lining. But before I do that, I'm thinking I could actually embroider. There's some damage to some broken pockets and things like that. So I could actually use it as a base for embroidery. So again, it might be a slow, ongoing project that I kind of meander through. So I'm kind of looking at the moment at a few ideas. I like the idea of kind of foliage or flowers kind of growing out of the pocket. I don't want it to be too fussy and over the top, but some elements of embroidery on there I think would be quite interesting. And then whatever colour I use for that, I might kind of try and tie it all in with the lining. So yeah, so they're all my pieces, and like I said, I'm hoping I'm going to show you some progress on some of these in the next few weeks, or I'll also tell you if I change my ideas. But I'd love to know what you think. Do you like those ideas? I mean, have you tried things like this? Have you had any success with upcycling, and how do you feel about it? I'd love to hear what you think.